In this video, how to grease sealed bearings in the front of a Polaris 2009 Sportsman 500. We'll go through some of the tools we need. First and foremost, always stay hydrated. Got a Husky 1/2-inch impact with a 15/16 socket. Take off the wheel. 1/2-inch torque wrench, 80 foot-pounds. Got a 3/8 extension and swivel. You'll use that on the brake calipers, which are 1/2-inch, and you'll also use it on the lower control arm, which is 9/16. 9/16 inch socket, 9/16 inch wrench. No, they're not impact rated extensions, but I'm not a professional either. To remove the tie rod, you need a 17mm socket and a 15mm wrench. Got a screwdriver to take the mud cap off, needle nose for the clips, pry bar in case things get serious. My Havoc Industries 35mm bearing greaser. That's for the front. For the rear, I use the 40mm, just slides right over. Very slick tools. A hammer for persuasion. Milwaukee 12-volt grease gun, because you can't do it manually. Did not use the impact for this. There's a Torx bit if you want to take the mud guard off. Not really necessary. Love my 3/8 drive Milwaukee stubby. That thing's unstoppable. Probably didn't even need the air ratchet, but it's just fastest. Of course, tub of towels. Keep your hands clean. The blue thread locker. Put those on the control arm bolts. And vice grips if the cotter pin doesn't come out. So let's get started. So step one, take the mud cap off, remove the pin, take the castle nut, the washer, and the hub assembly off. Then we're going to take the caliper off, 1/2-inch on a swivel. It's a little loud. We'll grab a bungee cord and hang that out of the way. Just slides right on. Now, with the caliper out of the way, the hub will slide off and we'll remove the 2 bolts on the control arm. The trick to removing the bolts is to not do them both all the way out. You might have to wedge them. We'll give it a try. We'll also have to remove this cotter pin and the tie rod arm. To take the tie rod off, we use a 15 on top and a 17mm on the bottom. Well, that was tough. There's a washer up here and a washer that goes on the bottom. And a really warm nut. Okay, next we'll work on the control arm. Get the control arm off. We got 9/16. We'll put a wrench on this end, put a socket on this end, and have them hopefully work together. It's a long rod in there, and there's no way to keep the rod from spinning. 1. Pay attention to what you're doing. All right, Cody. That's just turning in there. So I'm going to run this one back in. Try to create a little tension. I'm going to tighten that in little ways. Got my huge pry bar here.
Woo!
Maybe we can hold up on it. It's still spinning. Glad I grabbed the big pry bar.
Why?
That was sarcasm, Cody.
Sick.
We're going to try tightening on the right arm and loosening on the left arm. There that one's going. Now let's try to loosen this. Do them both at the same time. There we go.
Sick.
One's out.
Yay! You did it!
Let me get this one out quick.
Okay.
There we go. It's not fun?
Yeah, for
But
you.
now we have the control arm out.
Whoa!
We can swing the strut
Like Tarzan on a vine.
out. So get this out of the way. There we go. Now we're going to grease the bearing. There's my assistant, Cody.
Skeet skeet.
Playing PUBG. Took some bribing to get him out here. We're going to clean up the bearing there.
A guitar.
Oh, clean up the bearing, clean up the splines there. And then we're going to get the grease tool out. Okay, so cleaned up the bearing, cleaned up the spindle. I'm going to spend a little bit of time and clean up the hub there. Seems to be a lot of anti-seize everywhere. Not that it's terrible, just like to start clean. Now we're ready to grease the sealed bearing. I've got my 35mm Havoc Industries bearing greaser. See the grease comes out those holes there.
Sick. Prodigal dude.
Let's see how many it takes. You might want to.
Where will it come out?
Well, it's going to come out right through those cracks, hopefully.
Zoom.
Okay, as you might imagine, that was probably a lot of grease, and a lot probably did go out the back. Let's take this out and see. But it's also, you can see it in the inserts there.
Looks like a bat. That little piece hanging.
Let's put it back together now.
Sick.
Now we're ready to reassemble. I'm going to put some anti-seize on the spindle here and the splines. It certainly came out easy enough, so I can't complain. As my neighbor says, though, the shit gets everywhere.
So he's doing it wrong.
So the goal is to not get dirt on the clean spindles, if that's possible. There, it slid in there pretty nicely.
Wow.
Get the control arm back into its spot. Okay, before I put the control arm on, I'm going to put the hub back in with the impact running. It likes to shake a lot of the dirt, so I just want to get this on, kind of hold it in place. The control arms in the back will go on far easier than they came off. We're going to put some blue Loctite on the bolts before we run them in.
Nice.
Couple drops there. And a couple drops on that side. We're going to put our ear protection on. Okay, so to run the control arm in, we're just going to 9/16 on both sides and kind of work them in together. Okay, put the tie rod arm back in. As with any project, wouldn't be complete if I didn't lose something. The washer went racing across the garage floor. Don't forget to put that washer on top, washer on the bottom.
That little loopy thing after that.
That's a nylon washer. Remember that? It's called a lock.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a washer. It's a nut. Got our 17 millimeter on the bottom, 15 on top. And here we go.
Wow.
Cotter pin in.
Oh, that's what it's called. Coulter pin.
That's what I call it. All right, now we've got the caliper set on there. We're going to bolt it in with a 1/2 inch. You never know, metric or standard, but that'll help pull the hub in also. Okay, now the last step, putting the hub on. Washer, castle nut, and there's one more step. We'll torque it to 80 foot-pounds. Okay, I lost my assistant, so I've got a bar propped against the lug nuts. We're about ready to click. Remember, when you're torquing, it's one solid motion. You don't stop, you don't back up. This is not a preferred method, and I won't do it with the rest of them. For several reasons. But I clicked, and we're done. That's how you replace sealed bearing on a Polaris 2009 500 Sportsman. Thanks for watching.